So this meeting will be recorded. The video and audio contributions that you make may be captured and hijacked by us for club marketing and promotional purposes. You're agreeing to that by staying on past this moment. Because we have members and guests from all over the world and many different cultures, we ask you to try and be sensitive in the messages that you deliver and not step on any toes to the extent that you can avoid it. With that, I think it is time for me to turn the proceedings over to our Toastmaster of the day, Marianne Grady. Marianne.
Well, good evening, my friend. I am so happy to be with you tonight. And I just had to laugh when I saw the theme of the day and the word of the day, because there was an email just yesterday that I signed up to be the Toastmaster. So the theme was preparation and, why is it valuable to us? And yeah, it's probably a good thing if we all start thinking about that a little more in advance, myself included. So I'm just kind of putting out a little plea to everyone so we don't make David go crazy, that we sign up for roles in advance. We all have Toastmaster goals. We all want to get to them. So if you start checking it off and scheduling your time when you're doing roles, it would be really helpful to the people who put this all together for us. So just a little something out there, everybody. I am very happy tonight because we have 3 really solid speakers tonight, and I am so excited to hear from all 3 of them. So I am going to not go through the usual role summary. Most of us know what they are, and our guest seems to be a Toastmaster as well. So Jim Gould, we're happy to see you. So happy that you are able to visit with us tonight and be our watcher. So do you need a refresher on what the watcher does, or are you still up to speed?
I think I pretty much can kind of wing it. I was a charter member of this club many years ago, and I think David and I put together the job of watchers. So I think I can wing it.
Okay,
Thanks.
well, I'm happy to hear that. Our word of the day today is improvised, and it is an adjective made or said without preparation, kind of like our meeting tonight. So I am very excited to see how skilled you all are at improvisation, everybody. But we do have prepared speakers, and I will move right to them. And the prepared speakers will begin with Mr. David Carr. Now, David is our founding president and our current vice president of education. Is that correct? And the Toastmaster Advantage is the name of his speech. And David runs the Toastmaster.org club website hosting service and has been working on a more concise description of its value. So tonight, in 5 to 7 minutes, he's going to deliver that to us, and we'll let him know how he does. So please welcome David Carr with the Toastmost Advantage.
Hi, I'm David Carr. I run the Toastmost.org club website hosting service. I work with club leaders to help them polish and perfect their club websites. And my message to you today is about why it is worth the trouble to go with something other than the default, because most clubs use something called Free Toast, which is provided for free by Toastmasters International. And so you have to make a little bit of an effort to go beyond the default. And the reason that you want to do that is if you are ambitious about digital marketing for your Toastmasters club. And it's my proposition that digital marketing is pretty important for a Toastmasters club these days. It's certainly important for an online club like this one. It's important for one that operates in a hybrid format and wants to lure people in who are going to participate online, as well as people who are trying to get in the door. But even in person, do you buy a car without looking it up online, without looking up the reviews, without looking up how fabulous it is? No, you want to see those details before you go into the showroom. And the same thing with before you go into a Toastmasters meeting. Toastmasters is a platform that gives you powerful design options and also some business processes that can simplify signing people up for meeting roles and enlisting people to actually join your club. Now you can see some of that work at the website of Club Awesome, which was the original site. This was my home club. This is where they lay out the fact that they do meet in a hybrid format. And they also present all this stuff about the different workshops that they've done. So there's a good digital marketing portion here. But we also have the functional side of the website, bringing people in to sign up for roles. So this is what the role sign up experience looks like when you are a speaker, where you're going to pick your path in your project and put in a little bit of information so that we know how much time to reserve for you on the agenda and how the Toastmaster of the day should introduce you. Now, what you get with Toastmost is access to the WordPress platform. Now, if you're not a techie, you may not really know what WordPress is, but it is the world's most popular website software. And it gives you basically a web-based word processor that you can use for organizing your homepage, for expressing your message. So you can go in there and just start typing, but you can also add different types of content blocks, headings to organize your content, columns to lay things out side by side. One of the most frequent things you would do is wanting to add a picture, an image. And if you just type image into this little search blank, it'll tell you can add just a regular image, you can add an image gallery, you can add several other variations on that, depending on how you want to treat that image. And when you upload that image into the website, it'll actually be resized for you automatically. That's a big deal because I can't tell you how many Toastmasters Club websites I have seen where people's faces are squished side to side or flattened out because people don't know how to resize images proportionally. So it helps to have something that does some of that for you automatically. Now, in addition to having a killer homepage, you can have blog posts that promote things like who won the webinar contest. And then you can take that blog post and you can cross-promote it on social media. And the reason you want to do that is so that you bring people back to the website where they can find out much more about your club and they can find out how to sign up for your meeting and how to attend and how to become a member. So you're trying to just goose people along that little path. There is a good deal of design freedom. So when you first sign up, you choose one of these starter designs, and these have been reviewed and approved by Toastmasters International for use of the brand colors and adhering to the brand manual as best as I can. So you start off in a good place, and then you can add to that. You can change the images, you can change the colors, and so forth. It is mobile friendly, which a lot of Toastmasters digital stuff is not necessarily. So I'm showing how the Club Awesome website will reformat to fit in the screen of a mobile phone. And you can also send out email that will be viewable on a mobile phone and has these little one-click sign-up buttons to make it easy for people to make the right decision and say, yes, I will fill that role at your next meeting. And it's not just marketing, it is also tools for how you do business as a club. Things like a web-based application form that people can sign up, they can put in all their information, and when they get to the end of that process, up pops a little button that says pay now by credit card. So trying to streamline that process as much as possible. And yes, that's also been reviewed by the Toastmasters International people. We have the option, at least, of having a RSVP function, a guest registration function built into the website. And we use that here at Online Presenters. One of the things we do is because we're an advanced club, we ask people on the registration form, how much Toastmasters experience do you already have? so that we know whether they immediately qualify or whether we have to ask them to give a speech, which is another way we have of qualifying people for the club. You can give evaluations through the website. So again, a web-based form you can fill out. You don't have to email PDFs back and forth. And when you complete that form, it gets emailed off to the speaker, and it also gets archived on the website. So I can go back and look up my old evaluations to see the wisdom that has been shared in the past and make sure that I'm paying attention to it for the next speech, I hope. So that's basically the pitch. Now, unlike Free Toast Toast, this is not free because I'm not subsidized by Toastmasters International. I haven't found a big sugar daddy sponsor to underwrite the whole package. So it's paid for by the clubs that find it worthwhile. But there is a 3-month free trial. I encourage you to set up a test site, try it out, and see how much it can do for your club. Toastmaster.
Well, thank you, Mr. David Carr. You are fine tuning, and I really think I've sit through a lot of your speeches talking to about this, and you're definitely getting more succinct with it. And I'm a big fan of what you're doing, and I'm going to pass it along again and see if we can get the new leadership team on board. Now, I wanted to just share a little quote with you, a Benjamin Franklin quote. By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. Simple, right? So let's all keep it in the back of our mind when we're staying on theme. Our next speaker right now is Mr. Graham Cairns. Graham is mentoring without meaning. That is his without meaning to his speech tonight. It's persuasive influence, level 2, learning your style, introduction to Toastmasters mentoring. Graham is our incoming president, and we are very excited to have him with us in that capacity. And tonight, I hope you can put your hands together for Mr. Graham Cairns, coming to us from Japan tonight, and mentoring without meaning to.
Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. I'd like a show of hands if I can. Who here has or is a mentor? I only see, and now I see most hands going up. I should be seeing all hands going up. Not because you should be a mentor, but because you are a mentor, even if you don't mean to be. I'll explain that in a minute, but first I want to talk about this particular project, the Introduction to Mentoring project, which is a level 2 project for, well, all 11 different Toastmasters paths. This is in fact the 14th time that I have delivered this presentation, because I've repeated some paths, and there's one path that I really didn't want to do, and that's the one that I'm currently working on, so you get to experience it, lucky you. But the thing about this project is every time I do it, it reminds me that whether I intend to be a mentor or not, I am being a mentor for good or ill. I remember the first time I saw this project. It was a charter member of this club, George Marshall. He was in one of the districts which rolled out pathways before everybody else in the world got it, and he was presenting one of these super whiz-bang new pathway speeches, and it was the Introduction to Mentoring, and I thought, that is really exciting. It's making us examine those people who were our mentors, and in his case, he was talking about formal mentors. But the problem is that with Toastmasters, the word mentor is on 2 separate levels. There is the Introduction to Mentoring presentation, which we are all doing, which tells us that we are all mentors, whether we, and how we could become good mentors. Then there is the mentoring subpath, the advanced mentoring. Can I ask, again, a show of hands, how many here have completed the advanced mentoring subpath? Far fewer hands. In fact, I see none. Oh, no, one, perhaps. In Toastmasters, once we complete level 2, once we complete this project, the Introduction to Mentoring, there is the option to do an advanced mentoring project. It's a 6-month project in which you and a protege actually work together really closely. You learn about the process of mentoring. You learn what works for you, what works for your protege. You do a speech at the end of it and you present the results. I would genuinely suggest everybody do that advanced mentoring project because, and now I'm getting back to the title of this speech, we are all mentors without meaning to. I have had a number of mentors in my workplace, in my life, but let's just stick to Toastmasters. I have had a number of mentors in Toastmasters who have taught me stuff that they did not intend to teach me. Just by observing how they conduct business meetings, I learn what works and what doesn't in a business meeting. Just by observing how well they prepare for their presentations or how well they are able to wing it, I learn about the skills of preparation and the skills of improvisation. But by looking at those Toastmasters who talk the talk but don't walk the walk, and we all know those Toastmasters, we've all been in clubs with those Toastmasters, I am still learning from them, whether they intend me to learn from them or not. And so I would, and I'll get back to the point that I made a moment ago, I would urge everybody, once they have completed level 2 and this introduction to mentoring project, to move to the advanced mentoring sub-project. Yes, it will take you 6 months. No, there is no pretty little badge that you get, although you do get a notification that you have completed the advanced mentoring project, but you don't get it on your badge or you don't get certificates or anything like that. But you do get the warm, fuzzy feeling of knowing that you're actually learning how to mentor effectively. You do get to, oh, you do, yes, somebody gets the mentor badge. You do get to learn how to improve your coaching and mentoring skills, because coaching and mentoring are not the same thing. Coaching, as you will have discovered by doing this project, and I'm assuming everybody's done this particular project, coaching is all about a specific skill set. Mentoring is all about helping your protege become the best that they can be. If you wish to be an effective mentor, if you wish to pay forward all the things that you have gained from being a member of Toastmasters, then I would urge you to do that mentoring subpath, the advanced mentoring, because you will learn doing that project things that you had never even considered. And you will learn doing that project how we mentor without meaning to, so that when we do mentor without meaning to, we are doing so effectively rather than falling in a heap and dragging our proteges down with us. So, are you going to be a good mentor? Are you going to be a bad mentor? Doesn't matter. In one case or another, you are going to be a mentor without meaning to. Make it worthwhile. Madam Toastmaster.
My apologies, I'm having some technical difficulties here. I would like to give you another quote on planning. If the plan doesn't work, change the plan, not the goal. So next up, we have a treat for you. We have Carl Walsh. And Carl is giving a speech today called "Why Could Companies Make Bad Decisions?" Now, let's see, I apologize. I'm just gonna read the thing I have on my email, not the one he just sent me. So Carl is a speaker, trainer, co-founder of the Alpha Dogs Consulting Group and co-host of the Oval Table podcast. Carl's first taste of business was starting a theater company after graduating from the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London. He found that he loved the business of it. This led to 28 years in the corporate world, including companies such as the Walt Disney Company, building and maintaining high-performance teams, and since then, he has spoken across the country, helping small business professionals boost their businesses. His belief is that clarity of vision and alignment of purpose determines whether people, teams, and companies succeed or not. Please welcome Carl Walsh.
Let me take you back to the early 2000s. You are John Antioco, the CEO of video rental juggernaut Blockbuster. You're at a crucial board meeting. A new startup called Netflix wants to be bought out by you. You turn to the board members and you tell them, I believe we should reject the proposed purchase of Netflix. I don't believe in rentals by mail, nor the concept of streaming. Fast forward to 2010 and executing the bankruptcy and dissolution of Blockbuster. What happened? It was overwhelmed by rentals by mail and streaming. This is a perfect example of the devastation that can be caused by what we call cognitive biases. Cognitive biases are accumulated biases we all acquire through experience. These mental shortcuts are innate in our thinking. They can occasionally serve us well and prove very useful to make quick decisions. For instance, a lion is stalking me. Well, as I'd have it, I have a bias against a stalking lion. It tells me that he's dangerous, and I quickly decide to get back into the Land Rover for protection. Terrific. However, they often lead to irrational decisions and distorted judgments. Our brains can be like a quirky and unpredictable friend, always there for us, but sometimes making us shake our heads in disbelief. Now, there are more than 15 identified cognitive biases. More are being discovered all the time. But today, you will hear about two of the most prevalent: confirmation bias and status quo bias. And you'll hear about how you can minimize their impact on your life and your business. The demise of Blockbuster was a perfect case of confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is our natural tendency to seek out, interpret, and remember information in a way that confirms our pre-existing beliefs or hypotheses. It's like having a selective memory for the things that make you feel good about what you already think. This bias can lead to poor decision-making, obviously, and it can blind us to conflicting evidence or alternative viewpoints. Blockbuster's decision makers sought information that confirmed their belief in the superiority of their physical rental model, while ignoring the evidence that streaming was taking over. Netflix became Netflix, while Blockbuster became, well, busted. To counteract confirmation bias, it is essential to maintain an open mind and actively seek out contrary opinions and be willing to adjust your beliefs based on new evidence. And then there was Kodak and the status quo bias. You know, they invented digital photography and filed the first patent for a digital camera. But instead of embracing their own invention, they decided to stick with what they knew: film photography. They even said at a board meeting, we're a chemical company, not a photography company. While Blockbuster made attempts to change, although way too late to help them, Kodak simply preferred to maintain the current state of affairs. After all, they were still the global giant in still photography and the only major player in movie film. Well, digital photography didn't wait for them. For Kodak, the lights went out in 2012, and that's a plot twist they didn't see coming. To counteract destructive cognitive biases at work and in life, we need to cultivate a culture of diverse opinions, constructive criticism, maintain an open mind, and most importantly, appoint a devil's advocate, someone who respectfully challenges prevailing views within the group, whether they agree or not. And most important of all, that they are listened to and the arguments considered. Interestingly, in the cases of Blockbuster and Kodak, not only did their biases blind them to the tsunamis headed their way, but they also prevented them from taking advantage of the massive opportunities that were handed to them on a platter. Instead of being swamped, they could have owned the tsunamis. When you understand and acknowledge these biases, embrace open-mindedness, diversity of thought, and challenge your assumptions, well, you can take steps to mitigate their impact, leading to more rational and informed decisions. So, let me ask you, are you running your life with your own decisions? Or are your cognitive biases secretly running you? These are questions worth asking. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Carl, I loved your speech, and anything leadership related and how leadership should think. I thought it was fantastic. So great job tonight. Another quote for you to think about with planning. Without leaps of imagination or dreaming, we lose the excitement of possibilities. Dreaming, after all, is a form of planning. Gloria Steinem. Now, next up, we have table topics, and this is where we practice our impromptu speaking skills.
Marianne, should we get a timer's report first, perhaps?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, timer's report. Did all our speakers fall within time?
Okay, thanks. Yes, Madam Toastmaster, all of our speakers qualified. David Carr spoke for 7:19, Graham Cairns spoke for 5:59, and Carl Walsh for 6:16.
David, are people voting now or at the end?
We typically vote as we go along. I think Evie is set up.
Okay, that's what I just want to ask. So now our table topics is where we practice our impromptu speaking skills, and Joni Laidlaw is going to entertain us with her version of table topics this evening. Please put your hands together for our Udley ambassador, Joni Laidlaw.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the day. Planning ahead is important. Why? Because those who don't plan, well, who fail to plan, plan to fail, right way. And I hope that's a universal phrase that everyone uses and not just something I heard in passing here in Jamaica. However, there are times when we cannot plan. It has to be spur of the moment. It has to be impromptu. And what happens when you have to give that elevator pitch or ask that person out that you never thought you would have the opportunity to, or answer a question, or give a toast that you were called on to do? Well, that's why we practice to progress to be perfect at table topics. For today, I will ask that we all try to utilize the word of the day, which is improvise. It should be easy. After all, it's table topics. For my first question, I'm going to ask, those who fail to plan, plan to fail. I am going to go with Evie Hartman.
All right. So at this very moment, you guys, at this very moment, I am so thematic because I have never been vote counter before at this club. I've never been vote counter for a virtual club. And I showed up to this meeting and I wasn't quite ready by 6:30. And I popped in to say, oh yeah, I can be vote counter, without thinking to myself, how do I do that cool system? How do I make that work? And so right now I'm here in Obsidian, clicking back and forth between literally where I save all of my chats, finding the URL to where, you know, the fabulous, always prepared Carolina always sends that vote, that link for us to vote and everything, and like copy pasting the little bits of the URL to make it work so I can actually send it to everybody. That would not have happened if at any point over the past like 2 months, I had simply asked one of the officers or someone with more of a tenure in this club than me, how do I do this? Sometimes all you have to do is ask. Sometimes all you have to do is think to yourself, what am I going to have to do? What might I have to do? And how do I get to that point? I know that as human beings, that can sometimes be hard. It is hard to humans sometimes. It is hard to adults sometimes. And yeah, I'm a millennial, I can say that. And I just think that now and then I'll run into that situation and it's going to humble me. And hopefully I can use that, at least improvisationally, at least by example, if not by meaning to. I can use that to maybe help somebody else one day. Who knows? Who knows? Madam Table Talks Master.
Thank you, Toastmaster Evie. Everyone knows I love practical demonstrations and tragedy. Well, comedy is tragedy given time. Your time span just happens to be shorter. Emphasis on the resilience. For my next table topics question, oops, I didn't mean to say that. Jim Barber.
Did you ask the question? I missed it somewhere.
Oops, I didn't mean to say that.
Oh, that's the question. Oh, okay. Oops, I didn't mean to say that. That is my mantra, Madam Toastmaster. Some people have a mantra, you know, if it is to be, it is up to me, or just do it, or something like that. Mine, that defines my life, that has supported me throughout my life, is, oops, I didn't mean to say that. Wow. And I'm trying to think of a specific example, but there's so many of them that are cascading through my mind right now that I can't pick just one. But I can tell you that I am going to say that again 10 seconds after I finish my Toastmasters presentation, after my Topics Master presentation, because I'm going to finish and I'm going to say, Madam Topics Master, and 5 seconds later, I'm going to go, oops, I should have said something else, and I didn't think of that at that time. So I live my life between thinking of, oops, I shouldn't have said that, or oops, I should have said something else. It's a wicked way to go through life, but it does serve me well. And I basically, that's been kind of how that, as they say, is my mantra. So that's it. I've got the green light. And so I'm going to say, and I'm going to count in 5 seconds later, I'm going to think of what I should have said, but that's going to do it for right now, Madam Topics Master. Oh, I thought of it.
I so agree with you on that, Jim. I have chronic foot in mouth disease. I'll run that again for those who may have missed it. I have chronic foot in mouth disease, and therefore I can totally relate. But I loved how you flipped the topic, because that happens to me all the time as well. Oh, it was improvised, but I should have said that. Next to the virtual lectern, I'm going to ask our guest. Now, normally I give the question, then ask, but you know what? Because you are a guest, I'll ask you if you're willing to do it first. Marilyn Beaver, would you be willing to participate in our table topics? Yes, okay, awesome. I'm not hearing you. Is it just me? I know my internet thinks it's in Siberia or some cold place, so it's always freezing. Is it just me?
We cannot hear her as well.
No, sorry, Marilyn. Do you have a separate
Please
switch for your
compute the
microphone
audio.
as well as?
Yeah, I was
There
fooling
There it
with
is.
There you
Got it
go.
now.
got it.
Awesome. Great. For you. Oops. I didn't mean to do that.
Oops,
That's it.
I didn't mean to do that. Technology. Technology can be a you know what. And what better place to avoid the oops than to come to online speakers, Toastmasters on a Monday night. I had, in fact, the very same thing happen at a workshop that I was presenting last week when I wanted to test out my new webcam, the one that tracks so that I can do really great hybrid meetings. Well, it didn't go so well. Unfortunately, two things happened in 1 week that proved you should make your mistakes when it doesn't really matter. The first time out, I forgot my power cord, so I certainly couldn't record. The second time, I was trying to get really fancy and use a speaker and play some background music while I was getting ready to record over here. Oops, I did the same thing I just did this evening. I flipped a switch. I didn't mean to. I am going to master the technology of virtual presentation so that I'm no longer improvising. I'm nailing it every time out. No more, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Fellow Toastmasters.
I was going to be all brilliant and find a way to tie in with the accidents in the chat and your speech, and I'm going to anyway, even though it got figured out. Toastmasters is where we learn and grow to deal with how to improvise in a situation. I was going to throw out that one of the things I learned on Zoom is to always have a backup plan for the backup plan. So in Evie's case, 5 minutes into that, I would have said, and everybody, please send your votes to me via the chat, just to save face, like I pretended that I had planned it out all along. But in your case, it helps to have a backup to the backup so that even if we do the mistake publicly, we have another way to cover ourselves. Do I have any time for another topic or timer? Or Toastmaster of the day?
You have time for a few more.
I have time for a few more. Excellent. What is your best laid plan? And I am going to ask Toru to take that one. What is your best laid plan?
Excuse me.
What is your best laid plan?
Are you asking me questions for table topics?
Table topics, yes.
What do you spell out? What I don't know. I don't.
That
understand
might
your
be an
question.
It's a
English.
Shakespearean quote.
the
The
English
best
thing.
laid
Okay,
plans of mice and things go
Mice
wrong.
and men.
Would you repeat?
Okay, what was the best plan that you ever created and implemented?
Oh. Okay, recently I'm trying to design my study or transform my study room into a studio as YouTube distribution. And I'm now in completing my project with my 2 computers and 2 excellent mics and to a good website camera. And in doing this, I pay my attention to the quality of my screen. And I succeeded in it by combining two cameras, by shooting me with different angles. And now I'm completing my project, and I'm planning to distribute my contents to the people of the world by using the YouTube. And this is the most recent my completed project, and I very looking forward to it. Thank you.
You're muted, Jenny.
Thank you for that response to our question. Sometimes our plans can just be fixing something or changing it to allow us some benefit. My next question would be, what happens when things do work out? What happens when things do work out? And I'm going to give that one to Karthika.
Oh, wow. I'm just amazed with the topic. What is going to happen when it works out? Yes, of course. It worked out well when I started speaking initially. But maybe sometime later, I felt myself to be like grim, glossy, and sometimes gloomy, not opening up, not giving my fullest to do something to work out as a speaker. So I thought of a plan to get myself involved with people who are great enough in improvisation and also reach to get things done as planned. One of the ways was to get immersed into a technical topic or a non-technical topic with the professional network that I could gather knowledge and also transfer the skill later to a different way. Yes, it did work out. You know, I got a lot of insights about storytelling, the way I should express, the way I should sit, the way I should look, the way I should also project myself and position myself in a group of meeting. Yes, it did work out with one of the conferences that I attended recently. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to realize myself, to express myself, and also to give myself a word and a patting of to me, myself. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Karthika, for letting me know how it works out when everything basically aligns, especially when you have assistance. For my, I do believe, last table topics question, correct? Ah, there you go, Sarah Toastmaster of the day saying yes. Hindsight is 2020, and that one will go to Andriy Smolenko. Hindsight is 2020.
Thank you very much, Madam Table Topics Master. Hindsight is 2020. The first thing that came into my mind when I heard that question, what happened with me in 2020? It just happened 3 years ago. Of course, the COVID, there are quite a few things. And I think in 2020, I probably joined Online Presenters Club. So there are quite a few things going through my mind straight away. 3 years of our life. 3 years for a teenager, as my daughter is just nothing. She can't wait to grow up. 3 years for my son, who is 11, again, it's just 3 years. Oh, when I finish that school and just get away from you that into all that life. And 3 years for me, I'm just looking back and thinking, wow, time is going faster and faster and faster. And probably many of you fellow online presenters can share the same feeling that many of us get, that the younger we are, the time drags, that the wiser we get with the time flies. And I still can't figure out what's the balance between those two things. And when I'm thinking about the hindsight of 2020, I probably want to grab a cup of tea, while there's people accustomed to do in England, in Manchester, sit down and try to enjoy the life when I get a chance. And then again, I'm interrupted by my 2 children, business, and a girlfriend that I found. And trying to balance all those things together, I'll just say, well, look, if it's time of my life where I take the time, so I'll just do it. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
I know it was improvised because I'm giving out the questions. I'm an advanced club though. A lot of times I do have to wonder, did I message you before and let you all know the questions, because everyone did such an excellent job as if they had actually prepared. Or maybe they got that from doing table topics so frequently. I will ask our timer, or should I return to Madam Toastmaster of the Day to ask our timer for the time? May I have the times for our speakers?
Sure, Madam Table Topics Master. We all qualified. Evie Hartman, 155, Jim Barber, 138, Toru Maruyama, 136, and Toastmaster Vinkantarum, 145, and Toastmaster Smolinka, 207.
Thank you for your report, our timer. Be it improvised or if you prepared so you did not prepare to fail, overall table topics is a great way to impromptu speak. Back to you, our Toastmaster today.
Wonderful session, Joni. It was super good. Loved it. Now, I have another quote for you, surprise. For me, being from the Northeast United States, I like the New York Yankees, which is a baseball team here. There's an older Yankee who's, passed, long since passed, named Yogi Berra. And he used to make comments that were kind of like odd or funny, and the way he had an interesting way of putting things. So one of his quotes that I think relates to planning kind of nicely is, if you don't know where you are going, you'll end up someplace else. So always know where you're going, make that plan. Our next session is the gift of feedback, where Andrei Smolenko will guide us through this session with his report, this evaluation reports, and the reporters who help us keep track of all the different things we keep track of. So please put your hands together to the 3rd place winner of our webinar contest, Andrei Smolenko.
Oh, thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. So no pressure for me. And I can, with pleasure, introduce my role and take you through the 3rd, in my view, one of the most important parts of the evening, where we receive and give the gift of feedback, hopefully valuable. My role is to introduce 3 extremely experienced and really powerful evaluators. And then after they have spoken, each of them between 2 to 3 minutes, giving their feedback to their prepared speeches, I will pass this virtual stage to the helpers, to people without whom this meeting will not happen. Then the helpers will tell us about their views, what's been going on during this meeting, and then we're going to wrap up the meeting. Seems simple? Probably yes. Thinking about me when I joined Toastmasters, I thought I joined to learn how to speak in public. However, I remain for the art of evaluation. And the first evaluator who is going to be on this virtual stage is Jim Barber. Jim Barber will be evaluating our first speaker, David Carr. Please welcome Jim Barber.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. David, this was an excellent sales presentation. Now, I know it wasn't advertised or identified as being a sales presentation, but let's face it, that is what you were doing. You were promoting Toastmost. You were trying to get people to buy Toastmost, to buy into it, to subscribe to it. Congratulations, this was a great job. I'll go into that a little bit more later. Let's talk about why. First of all, you had a great use of the visual frame. As you can see up here, up there, you were on the frame. You were in the frame all the time. Every slide that you put up, David Carr was there. And so we always knew, I'm a big proponent of that, and you followed through on that. You did great. You were there on every slide. We always knew who was conducting the business. The slides themselves were effective. As you can see on this particular one, the type is large. We can read it. You've got an illustration off to the right that we can actually follow what you're doing. It was very well done. The slides stayed up long enough for us to see what you were doing, but not so long that we got bored with them. Then you moved to another slide and we were able to see what was going on. It was great use of the visual frame all the way through. The presentation, it was well structured, effectively presented, just worked all the way through. You closed with a call to action. And of course, that was something that is just absolutely necessary in a sales presentation. You told us, come on, this is a good product, go sign up. You gave us the way to do it, the contact information, that was very, very good. Prior to the call to action, you listed the benefits of Toastmost, all the different things that Toastmost could do for you, for your club, and the marketing, the organization, all the different things you gave us in detail of exactly what all the different benefits were. However, that leads me to my one suggestion. As I say, you did list the benefits at the beginning in a lot of detail. That was great. You did have a call to action at the end, but it would have benefited, I think, by before the call to action, if you had spent just 30 seconds summarizing the benefits, because there were so many benefits that you listed that we frankly got a little bit overwhelmed. By the time you were talking on the third benefit, we had forgotten what you were talking about on the first. So if you could have spent just a few seconds summarizing, bang, 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 these are the reasons why you need to subscribe to Toastmost, and then give the call to action, I think you would get a better response out of it. However, I want to say that you are always have been a skilled technical presenter. Sales has not been your strong suit, but in this presentation, you took a giant leap forward. This was a very effective sales presentation, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do in the future. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Jim Barber, who was our first evaluator. You can see we're advanced club with the level of skills our first evaluator demonstrating, who raised the one quite high. However, we'll see if our next evaluator up to the challenge. The second evaluator I'm going to call to this virtual stage is Mr. Toru Mariyama, who will be giving evaluation to Graham Cairns' speech. Toru Mariyama, please, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction. Thank you for your excellent speech for mentoring, Toastmaster Graham Cairns. Listening to his presentation today, I'm sure many of us are interested in working on the various aspects of mentoring. especially 6-month course of mentor-mentee program. And let me raise 2 intriguing points and my humble suggestion on his speech today. First, I am completely agree with his idea or his insistence that good Toastmasters can be a good mentor all the time without intentions. Because if he or she behave like a model Toastmasters, they could give many kinds of lessons and advices to many Toastmasters very naturally. And he analyzed a good part of it very efficiently. That is first good point. The second point is that he was proposing the merit of working on 6-month mentor-mentee program, which I did several times. And in this program, you can learn from protege, because the relationship is 2 ways. You not only give good instructions or teach your protege, but you learn from your protege also. So this win-win situation will enhance the ability of speech, not only speech, but leadership. So this program is a very good one for making progress, not only for the mentor and mentee, but also mentee. So in summary, Toastmaster Graham Cairns succeeded in introducing us to the new world of mentoring, or new possibilities of mentoring rather. And then I want to give one suggestion. I want to hear about his experience as a protege when he was very young, very new in the Toastmasters, what he was learning, what instructions or inspiration did he got from his mentee. I wanted to know. So next time, if possible, I'd like to a story about it from him. And overall, his speech was excellent. And I wish you had a good time in Japan, looking the beautiful scenery from your room, Mount Fuji. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tsoruk Maruyama. What I like about your evaluations, they thoroughly prepared with quality advice that speakers can take on board and improve their speeches as well. Thank you very much for that. And we're moving along to our third and final evaluator for this evening. Again, we'll see if Mr. Graham Cairns, who has taken on board the role of evaluator and the prepared speaker today, we'll see if he can do it better than his prepared speech. Mr. Graham Cairns will be evaluating Carl Walsh's speech. The stage is yours.
Toastmaster, guests, there are 3 types of speeches which get delivered in a Toastmasters meeting. There are 3 types of speeches which get delivered pretty much everywhere. There is the prepared speech, where we have worked out exactly what we're going to say, the words that we're going to say, the way that we're going to say them. Then there's the impromptu speech, the one that is improvised. And the third is the work in progress. And what we saw today was an example of that work in progress. As I understand it, Carl is going to be delivering a version of this speech this weekend, and he wanted a chance to deliver it, to polish it, to get reactions to it. And I have to say, I really enjoyed this presentation, and I wish I could be there to see the final delivery. I am in awe of Carl's speaking ability. I have to tell you that. I think he knows I've said this before. One of the things that Carl did really well was he told stories, and he opened with a story. But I don't know whether you noticed, he didn't just open with a story, he opened with a classic once upon a time story. And all good stories are in fact once upon a time stories. And he said, once upon a time, it was in that board meeting when things could have been so very different, but were not. He told us about how sometimes having inbuilt biases is not a bad thing. You have a bias against being stalked by a lion. That's a really good example. But when you have a bias against being stalked by a mouse, that's probably not so important. He used the Kodak story and told the Kodak story well. So all of those stories worked well in making the point that he was going to make. And we knew that he was going to make it because the structure of this speech led us there inexorably. There are a couple of suggestions I might make for Carl, and I know he's got a couple of days to prepare this. And one is, instead of being swamped, he once spoke about the tsunami swamping us. He said, instead of being swamped, you could own the tsunami. I don't know of anybody owning tsunamis. A better analogy might be, instead of being swamped, you can direct that tsunami so that it washes away your opposition. It's, I think, a more effective analogy. It just didn't quite work for me. And Carl ended with a question that he wanted us to ask ourselves. I don't know if anybody else got that question, because he asked it once and didn't repeat it. It's important, I think, to use the 3 repetitions. That's a technique that public speakers have used since the days of ancient Greece. State something, restate it, state it a 3rd time so that it sticks. Ask the question, reframe that question, ask it a 3rd time so that the question sticks. Because I know that question is crucial to the point that Carl wants to make in his presentation. I would suggest repeating it. But the highlight for me was the structure of this speech. As I say, it was inexorable. We knew where Carl was going to take us, and he carried us there to the conclusion that he wanted us to draw and the actions that he wanted us to take. Well done, Carl. A work in progress. This is going to be fabulous when you get it polished for this weekend. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Graham. And Graham was the 3rd evaluator and the final evaluator for this evening. Now we're moving on to the next exciting part. It's the timers report. Mr. Timer, could you tell us whether all 3 evaluators qualified for today?
Well, Mr. General Evaluator, I'm sorry to say that one of our evaluators did not qualify. Jim Barber came in at 318, Toastmaster Mariama went over at 356, and Toastmaster Graham Cairns just almost perfect at 324.
Thank you very much, Mr. Timer. So it's a note to our vote counter, Evie. We have only 2 evaluators for the voting. And now, again, it's just getting more and more exciting. The 4th part of the evening, I'm going to have a short chat with all the people without whom this meeting would be virtually impossible. Helpers who helped us to organize this meeting and run it smoothly. I would like to start with our counter. Krichika, I'm really sorry, I'm trying my best, but I'm working on it. Krichika Devi, our counter, please briefly introduce your role and tell us the outcome of your observations. Under 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for getting me on board. So as an accounter, I would record the crutch, pause fillers, as well as impromptu way of expressing like and pauses, which are supposed to be not used during our speeches. As an accountant for today's meeting, I would like to give my report for 3 speakers who have presented wonderful speeches. So, the secret of your success is determined by your habits. One of my favorite sayings is like, when you have to change a habit or when you have to do something new, create it on your own. Spend some time on it. Eradicate the imposter syndrome that you have in yourself. That leads you to success. In today's meeting, I was able to learn a lot. Being an accountant as well, I was able to get much more information on how you are supposed to speak more than finding out faults. So with the improvisation on each meeting that I see, I can find out like there are nil crutches or sounds with the speakers. It's wonderful. And again, with the number of times the words has been mentioned, it is with Graham, who used mentor 12 times and mentoring 8 times, which is also pleasing because of the way that has been expressed. And for our second speaker, Marian, Mr. Carr, there isn't any fault that I could find out. I was like drilling down to see how I can find out as an accountant or to figure out how he has expressed was amazing. And to be honest, I wasn't able to find out any kind of fault. It was clear and concise. The third speaker being our David Carr. There were 2 times of pauses which has been noticed during his speech. And I don't see any other fault during the speeches. There wasn't any crutch sounds or there wasn't any fillers used instead. So this is my report about the prepared speakers in today's meeting.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Madam Kanta. And next we're going to our watcher, Mr. Jim Gould. We'll be pressed on time, so please, Mr. Gould, make it concise and up to 1 minute.
Absolutely. Looking around my squares of Zoom, I see a few things out there. And I noticed that Toastmaster Jim Barber, when he puts his overlays up, they cover up part of his face. He could make those a little bit smaller or use his layering to put himself out in front of those overlays, and then they wouldn't be cutting off pieces of his face and bad. Toastmaster Bieber, Marilyn Bieber, your camera seems to be out of focus. Perhaps it's just cleaning your lens. That's an important thing. You're just out of, sometimes your focus goes in and out. Mine does anyway. You can go in and out. Let's see, Carl Walsh, there was something. Yeah, I liked your setting, very nice. I like that. Good job there. Graham, I love that you have Fuji in the background there. That's great. And Toastmaster Venkataran, your microphone seems to be kind of low volume, and I struggled to hear you even when I turned up my microphone. But everybody else, you guys are doing really well with the Zoom and the framing and the sound, and lighting is really important, and you guys have it pretty well down. So thanks. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Watcher. Just a little note to Evie, our vote counter. Perhaps you could place the link in the chat so people could vote for the best evaluator. I think that would be great.
So you guys aren't going to believe this. So I think I've officially solidified my place as the worst vote counter ever. So when I posted that link where I joked that maybe now we're all vote counter, let's see, let's find out together. We did. the most on top of it quick person in this club, I think. Kritika seems to have clicked on it thinking that it was the correct link. Not her fault that it absolutely wasn't. And now she's vote counter, and we have been trying so hard this whole time through all of the other reports, including hers, to figure it out. And we have not gotten there. So can you help, Kritika? Because I cannot get back in. I've tried. So,
If you click on any of the links that we've already had, one of those will give you the option of check other votes, and then you can vote for the evaluator. It's a way around it.
Okay, I will post that, or let me go ahead and post that link in the chat, but I'm not going to be able to tell you who won.
No, Katika will have to tell us who won.
Yes.
No worries, Evie, you're doing
This
it.
is not a very good Toastmost commercial here. Sorry about that, guys.
It's totally my fault. It's totally my
Okay.
fault.
I'm quite sorry. There was a start but stop vote counter. I think it's stopped now. I'm not able to see it anymore.
Well, I'll see if I can break into it. Let me see if I can
I
jimmy the
broke
lock.
it.
Yeah.
Improvisation.
Kudos.
Well, it looks like David Carr and his Toastmasters genius are going to help us and to figure things out. In the meantime, I think we managed to survive today and had a great meeting anyways, as every meeting as online presenters. Not only we survived, and we had an amazing Marianne Grady leading this meeting with her enthusiasm and her charisma. I felt in safe hands and improvised as well. One thing to mention to Marianne, perhaps you could give a quick introduction to supporting roles at the beginning of the meeting. I think that will just a little thing. Overall, I would like everyone to unmute and applaud to Marianne Grady, our Toastmaster of the evening.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian. Overall, we did it. So well done. No matter glitches, we're Advanced Club. Let's congratulate ourselves and pass this virtual stage back to Marianne, Toastmaster of the day.
Okay. I will ask if, do we have answers for the votes yet?
Yeah, I just posted them in the chat. Carl Walsh for speaker. I made you Carl Walsh or something. I'm sorry about that. Evaluator Graham Cairns and table topics was Evie.
Well, everyone, I want to thank all those who stepped up at the last minute and helped us improvise when we didn't have all our roles filled at the beginning of the meeting, because it really did turn out to be a wonderful meeting. So thank you, everybody. And I'm going to give you one final quote, and it's, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. And this is an Abraham Lincoln quote. And like Abraham Lincoln, we should be sharpening our skills, right? And so Toastmasters isn't just about public speaking, it's about leadership too. And planning and making sure that we're doing the right thing is a critical part of this process. So I just encourage you all to go to that sign up roll tonight and pick a few for the next meetings, and we don't have to think about it for a bit. But it's been my pleasure to be your Toastmaster tonight, and I will give it back to Mr. David Carr.
All right. Well, I'm going to hit the stop record button because I think that was a great note to end on.